Worry is one of those universal experiences. We all know what it feels like. But have you ever actually thought about what worry is? In today's video, we're going to be discussing some of the characteristics of worry, what makes it different than any other types of thinking patterns, and we're going to be talking about two main different types of worry. So, in our last video in this video series, we talked about an initial model of worry that starts out with some sort of trigger situation that triggers a series of what I call the what if questions. So, these what if questions tend not to be just one what if question, it can be the same what if question looped over and over and over again, or it can be one what if question leading to another what if question, leading to another, and leading to another. And it's this spiraling of what if questions that leads to that experience of worry. And as a person is having all of these what if questions and imagining the worst case scenarios that could potentially happen, that's the process that we call worry. And the emotional result of a person thinking about all of these negative scenarios or negative events that could occur, that results in a person experiencing anxiety. And as a person goes through this process day after day after day, trigger what if worry anxiety, trigger what if worry anxiety, the emotional result of that worry process is feeling exhausted and demoralized. So that's our basic model for understanding what happens in the worry process. And so this model gives us a sense of some of the characteristics and some of the aspects of what goes into worry. And the first principle or the first part of a definition of worry is that worry is a thought process. It's a cognitive process. And it tends not to be just a single thought. It's a collection of thoughts. And as I mentioned, it can be the same what if thought looped over and over and over and over and over again, kind of like a broken record. Or it can be one what if thought leading to another what if thought, leading to another what if thought. And that can create this sort of catastrophic, worst case scenario imagining. So that first aspect of worry is that it is a thought process. It's something that's going on in your head. Now, the second aspect of worry is that worry tends to be future oriented. And what I mean by that is that we worry about the future, not what's happening right now in the moment or what's happened in the past. Worry tends to always be directed towards the future. Now, sometimes when I'm introducing this idea of worry being future oriented, some of my clients will say, well, hold on a second. I do tend to worry about things from my past. But usually what they mean by that is that they're not worrying so much about the things in the past, but they're worrying more about how those things in the past are going to affect their future. So, for example, if I'm worrying about being fired from my job last year, I'm not worrying about having been fired. Chances are I'm worrying more about how being fired last year, how I'm going to be able to explain it at job interviews in the future. So it's more about how the events from the past are going to affect me in the future. Now, a third component of our understanding or definition of worry, and this one's a pretty obvious one, but still an important one to emphasize, is that worry is about future negative events. So we worry about bad things happening in the future, not good things happening. So rarely will someone worry something like, oh, what if this relationship goes really well? Or what if I win the lottery? Or what if I do really well in my job and get promoted and I'm really successful in my career? We tend not to worry about those types of things. We worry about bad things happening. Now, the next component of our understanding, our definition of worry, is that worry is a thought process that's accompanied by anxiety. So, anxiety is the emotional result, the emotional outcome of worry. Now, this is important because people will often use the terms worry and anxiety interchangeably, almost like they're the same thing. But worry and anxiety are different. You can't be worrying without being anxious, but you can be anxious without worrying. So, for example, if I'm in a movie theater and I'm watching a really intense horror movie and a guy jumps out of a shower with a big knife and starts attacking a person, I may feel really anxious, but I'm not worrying in that moment. I'm not worrying, oh, well, what if when I get home, there's a crazy serial killer who's going to attack me with a knife? So I can feel anxious, but I'm not worrying. But anytime that I'm worrying, I'm going to feel anxious. That anxiety is going to result from, and it's the natural result of thinking about all of these awful things that could potentially happen in my life. And so all those what if thoughts. And so it's natural to feel anxious when you're worrying. That's the emotional outcome of what happens when we worry. So that forms the definition, the basic definition of worry as I think about it when I'm working with my clients. That worry is this collection of thoughts or doubts about future negative events that is accompanied by anxiety. And so that's our understanding. And I think it's important really to understand and define worry before we get into talking about how we actually manage it. Because if we're not talking about the same thing, some of these worry management skills aren't going to work. So that's the basic definition that I use when I'm thinking about worry. And so we've got our definition of worry. What I want to talk about is two different types of worry: worries that we call type 1 worries and worries that we call type 2 worries. Now, type 1 worries, these are worries about current, actual, real problems that a person's dealing with. So, worrying about a problem that actually exists in this moment. So, for example, imagine that I get my credit card bill in the mail, and the credit card bill is for $500, but I only have $300 in my bank account. So, I'm not able to pay that credit card bill. That's an actual current problem that I'm dealing with that I may start worrying about. That's a type 1 worry. Type 2 worries, on the other hand, are worries about future or potential problems, problems that don't exist right now, and problems that may never exist. So, for example, I get my credit card bill in the mail, and the credit card bill's for $500. I have $600 in my bank account, so I'm able to pay the credit card bill this month. But I start thinking to myself, "Oh, wow, that was a close one. What if next month I'm not able to pay my credit card bill? And what if that means that I'm going to have a hit to my credit record and credit rating? And what if that means I'm not going to be able to get a loan to buy a car? Or what if that means I'm not going to be able to get a good job? I'm going to be limited in terms of where I can work or what I can do for work. And what if that means I'm not going to be able to afford a house or pay for a mortgage? And no one's going to want to be with me in a relationship because I'm not able to earn enough money, and what if I end up depressed and I end up losing my job and I end up homeless? Those are type 2 worries. None of that stuff is actually happening. I'm able to pay my credit card bill this month, but I'm worrying about what if all of these negative things that may never happen, what if they actually start to happen? Those are examples of type 2 worries. So it's important to start thinking about worries in this way, thinking about worries about whether they're type 1 worries or whether they're type 2 worries. And why this can be beneficial is that by thinking about what type of worry you're experiencing, it takes you out of the worry process and gets you to think about the worry from a bit of a different perspective, right? So you're not so engaged in the worry itself, but you're able to step back and say, okay, well, hold on a second. This is a type 1 worry that I'm having right now, or this is a type 2 worry. So you're looking at it more analytically as opposed to being stuck in it. Also, determining the nature of the worry, the different type of worry that you're experiencing, that'll help you decide what worry intervention strategies that you're going to use that's going to be most effective for this type of worry. So, there's going to be different worry techniques that are more effective for worries about actual current problems, and some worry management techniques that are going to be more effective for future problems. Because type 1 worries are worries that are under your control. Type 2 worries are worries that aren't under your control because they're not actually happening. So, as you might imagine, one of the most effective techniques for dealing with a type 1 worry, so if you're worrying about an actual problem, if you problem solve that problem, chances are you're going to stop worrying about it. And so, type 1 worries are going to use approaches that are more engaged in problem solving than type 2 worries, which are involving problems that don't exist. And so, you can't problem solve problems that don't exist. And so, there will be different techniques to manage type 2 worries. So, it's important to get a sense of what type of worry you're experiencing because that's going to help guide what intervention you're going to want to use. And sometimes just being able to identify your worry or the worry type can be enough to disengage and to stop worrying about it. So, particularly for type 2 worry, sometimes when people recognize that they're engaging in a type 2 worry, that can be enough for them to just let that worry go. I'm worrying about something. This isn't happening right now. I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. But for now, there's no point in worrying about it because it's not actually happening. And sometimes just being able to label a worry as a type 2 can be enough to disengage and to stop worrying about that thing that you're worrying about. So I hope that gives you a better understanding for what worry is and different types of worries. This is just the start of our process of developing a new understanding of the worry process as we begin to dismantle it, examine worry, and ultimately change our worry experience and the extent to which we worry. And if you're interested in learning more about worry management skills, you can watch the next video in this series right here once it's posted. So that's all for today's video. As always, thank you for making it all the way to the end of this video, and I will see you in the next one.